Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, so it is Monday, and it is April 16th. Let me tell you what we got going on today. First up, obviously, we're a little late since it's Monday, but nonetheless, was it a penalty? Was it not? All right, we're going to be talking about the Champions League games from last week. Going to talk about this draw in the semifinals going on. So we'll be talking about all that. Pretty much the Champions League segment for the first one. Second segment, we're going to head over to the Premier League. All right, Manchester City are officially your champions. If you remember the title for last week's show, we put Manchester is red for one more week. All right, turns out that's it. It was just a one more week. Now it's blue. So we'll be talking about that. Talking about their game with Tottenham, and pretty much going to give some thoughts on Mourinho and all that. All right, so we're doing that. Let's see, third segment, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Looking like he's going to be playing in the World Cup. All right, that is big, especially since he is playing in the group of death with, obviously, Sweden, South Korea, Mexico, and Germany. We're going to be talking about Ibrahimovic coming to Sweden, pretty much just talking about the group of death. All right, we're going to be spending that third segment talking about that, and then for the fourth segment, as you will learn, as you've probably learned over the last few shows we've done since I've been here. All right, we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of soccer, anything that crosses my mind. I mean, if you guys want, you can always just tweet at the Soccer Podcast, tweet about what you want us to talk about for the fourth segment, then we'll do it on the next show. But nonetheless, like I said, for the fourth segment, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of football / soccer, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter to me. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, Champions League. Champions League been very entertaining so far. Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It wasn't just the whole penalty thing. I forgot. We had Roma, Barca. What did we talk about that last segment? I don't think we talked about it last segment. No, we did not. All right, so it's going to be fun. I forgot. We got all the games to talk about. The Madrid and Juventus game obviously was the one that took over the headlines, okay? Obviously, going into that game, we knew that Madrid was up 3-0. I was talking about how Juventus really didn't stand a chance, how they weren't going to come back. And sure enough, because especially without Dybala, too. I figured without Dybala, they weren't going to come back, and it was going to be very difficult. Turns out, what do? They come back, all right? We are winning 3-0, looking like the game's going to be heading into extra time. Okay, and then it happens. All right, about 90th minute or so. I think it was Mateo Kovacic gets fouled in the box, and I think it was Benatia who fouled him. And I don't, there's the whole thing. The whole question is, was it a foul? Okay, I think that given the situation that they were in, about to head in extra time, I don't think they should have called it, okay? I think that it was a very, very, very soft penalty, all right? I figured that, I don't really think that Benatia, because you could see he kind of extended his arms, but not too much. And I think it was more so Kovacic just falling forward by himself. And people talk about, oh, yeah, he kicked him. He didn't kick him. He didn't hit him there. All right, when he swung his leg around. He didn't hit him. I think Kovacic went down far too easily. And then I just figured it was too soft of a penalty to give in that moment. All right. And even then, so even if it wasn't in that moment, I still think it'd be a soft penalty to give. But nonetheless, it was a penalty. He called it. I think Michael Oliver was the ref. I think it was. I can't remember exactly what his name was. I'm pretty sure it was Michael Oliver. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, Juventus is fuming about it. Not happy about it at all. They're surrounding the ref. Buffon comes and he's yelling at the ref and all that. And the ref gives him a straight red, okay? I understand you want to give the penalty or whatever. Like I said, I think it was a very soft penalty, but nonetheless, you could make your argument as to why, and I wouldn't be mad. All right, but for the ref to go and give Buffon a straight red, I feel was a bit extreme. Okay. Very, very extreme. I figured that, yeah, Buffon is yelling and stuff. Just give him a yellow as a warning, and then if he keeps going, then yeah, you give him the double yellow and get him the red. All right, but nonetheless, ref goes straight red. I feel like that was ref was being a little power hungry there. Okay. I figured that more so, you don't give a guy like Buffon a straight red. You just don't do that. Okay. There's some things you do and don't do. That's one of those things you don't do. But nonetheless, gives him a straight red. Chesney comes on to be the goalie. Ronaldo lines up to take the penalty. And there was a long time, too. It was about 5 minutes or so that passed between the foul and the penalty that was actually taken. So I figured maybe, you know what, this is a little bad for Madrid because of the fact that Ronaldo's had time to think about it and all that. And pretty much there's been way too much time that has gone on. But nonetheless, Ronaldo fires it into the right side. They score. It's 3-1. Madrid's up 4-3 on aggregate. And the game finishes a couple minutes after that, like a minute after that. All right, Madrid ends up winning. And like I said, I mean, I was watching the game, and I was just completely in shock at the fact that he called that a penalty at that time. All right? And like I said, I'm not mad at people who do think it's a penalty. I'm not mad at people who don't think it's a penalty. It's going to be one of these, it's just going to be up for debate. Some people are going to say it is. Some people are going to say it's not. Okay, I can make the argument as to why it is and why it's not. But like I said, I just don't like the fact that he called it at that point in time. I figure that the ref would more so not want to make himself part of the game and let the players finish it off. But nonetheless, I mean, just wasn't the case there. And then for the other game that night, you had Bayern Munich versus Sevilla. Bayern Munich practically played with 5 defenders, putting Javi Martinez there in the midfield. The game finished 0-0. Bayern didn't look like good really at all, but nonetheless, I mean, they got the result they needed, so now they advanced to the semifinals along with Madrid. Okay, then we had Roma versus Barca. And I mean, did we see this coming? Barca was up, what was it, 3-1 I think it was? 4-1, no, they finished the first leg 4-1. All right, and I'm sure we all figured it's over. That's it. There's no way they're coming back. I'm talking about Roma, all right? And sure enough, okay, and they switched up their tactics too. If you notice in the second game compared to the first, fullbacks were pushing forward a whole lot more, and they were playing high press the entire game. It seemed they were keeping a high line on the defense too. So, I mean, one of the biggest reasons why Roma came back was because of the fact that they were pressuring Barca so much. All right, Barca likes to play from the back. That's a little bit difficult when you got Roma players all over you. But nonetheless, I mean, Roma came back, ended up winning the second leg 3-0, advanced on away goals, and it's just, I was in shock with that too. All right, that was the game. That was the day before the Madrid game, and it's just a matter of, if you're Barcelona, how do you give that up? All right? It's one thing to give up 3 goals, whatever. Defenses have a bad day, it's fine. Okay, but how do you not score once? All right? How? All you need is 1 goal. You get 1 goal and you advance. But no, they don't score at all. Roma just completely dominated. Barca were outclassed. Okay, how often can we say that? How often can we go out and tell people, yeah, it's crazy, we watched the game, Barca just simply got outclassed. All right, Roma put on a clinic. And it's not like Roma is this, like, they're a great Italian team, but it's not like they're above Juventus or anything like that. It's not like they're the top team. It's not like Barcelona lost to the top team. All right, I'd have to double check where Roma currently is in the standings. They might be second, third, or somewhere around there. And actually, I am going to check the standings as I'm talking about. But unless you figure a team of Barcelona's stature would go out and win this game, or at least do what they needed to do. Kind of like with Bayern. Bayern didn't play really well at all, but nonetheless, they got the job done. All right? Let me see. I'm going to pull up the table right here. I think Juventus currently still is in first in the... Is it Serie A still? Because I know with La Liga... Yeah, so they're currently in third. They're 17 points off of second. All right? Yeah, they're 17 points off of second, have 7 losses in Serie A, only 18 wins, 7 draws. So they got about 18 wins, and the rest of them 14 combined losses and draws. All right, like I said, they're 17 points off of Napoli, who are in second, and 23 points off of the leader Juventus. And they go out and pretty much just put on a clinic against Barcelona. Tactical masterclass there. All right, but nonetheless, they pulled it off. And it's just with Barcelona. I mean, they're going to be winning La Liga, but you kind of feel like the season's not a failure, but it's just something's missing. All right, something is missing, and I think it's the Champions League. They at least make it to the semifinal and just don't blow it how they did, but nonetheless, they did, and there's that. And then we had Liverpool versus City. City started off hot. I think they scored within the first 2 minutes of the game. It was Gabriel Jesus who scored, or Aguero. I can't remember exactly who it was, but nonetheless, they scored early. Sane had a goal that was disallowed in the first half too, which could have made it 2-0, and it shouldn't have been disallowed. I think the ref called it offsides when it wasn't, but nonetheless, that happened. And it looked like City was eventually going to come back against Liverpool, which is because of how well they were playing in the first half. But second half comes, Liverpool puts up 2 goals. I believe it was Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino, and that was all she wrote there. I mean, Liverpool knocked off Manchester City 5-1. All right. The Premier League champions, so we're going to be talking about in the next segment, knocked them off 5-1. But nonetheless, they ended up winning there, and Liverpool deserved it. All right. Played well, won the game, and deserved to go through. So then we had the semifinal draw on Friday, 4 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time. I didn't wake up for that at all. Figure I'll just wake up and get a notification on my phone. Sure enough, did. Turns out Bayern versus Madrid in one semifinal leg, and then Liverpool versus Roma in the other. Okay. If you've been paying attention to what I've been saying, I've said that I'd like to see Liverpool versus Madrid in the final because they're the most 2 historic clubs. Liverpool at one point in time was the best team in England, and I guess historically speaking, you can't say Madrid is the best team in Spain. All right, so I wanted to see those 2 go up in the final. There is a possibility of that, but Liverpool, as well as they have been playing on the attacking side, it's going to be tough to get past a team like Roma. All right, and it's going to be interesting. It's fun to see too because we got Mohamed Salah versus his old team. All right, and it's just crazy how these things usually work out. But nonetheless, Roma aren't a team that you can take lightly anymore. Okay, the fact that they've made it to this far shows that they can make it even further. All right, so I'm very excited to see what Roma does against Liverpool. I think there's going to be some fun games. And then we got Madrid versus Bayern. Like I said, Bayern didn't really look too good against Sevilla in the second leg of the Champions League quarterfinal. Drew 0-0, but nonetheless advanced. All right, I do think that Madrid are the favorites in that one, but nonetheless, I mean, you can't really look past the Bayern side like that. They've been playing well in Champions League so far. And it's just a matter of, it's a rematch of last year, all right? Pretty much the same thing happened with Madrid and Bayern last year as far as what happened with Juventus and Madrid this year, all right? Bayern was tied, I think, 2-2 in the second leg of their matchup with Real Madrid. Madrid get a penalty in the 83rd minute, score, and that's all she wrote there too. So it's going to be interesting to see if Bayern is able to get some revenge on Madrid, and it's going to be interesting to see how Mohamed Salah does against his old team and see how Roma does after knocking off Barcelona in their quarterfinal matchup. So that's all I got to say about that. We're going to wrap it up here. Next up, like I said, we're going to head over to the Premier League, talk about Manchester City, them winning the Premier League, and pretty much talk about anything else that has to do with it. It has to do with the Premier League. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. All right, so here we are. Talked about Champions League in the first segment, and then for this one, we're going to head over to the Premier League, okay? Let's see. Let's recap the scores from this weekend, and then we'll talk about City and pretty much give my thoughts on Manchester United and Jose Mourinho. So let's get into it. We had Southampton facing off with Chelsea. I believe, Southampton was up 2-0 at one point in the game. Giroud comes on. Chelsea scored 3 goals in 9 minutes. All right, Giroud had 2 of them. Hazard had 1 of them. Giroud scored in the 70th and 78th minute, and then Hazard scored in the 75th. Chelsea ended up finishing the game, winning 3-2. Then we had Burnley facing off with Leicester City. Burnley ended up winning 2-1. Leicester City did get a goal from Jamie Vardy. And I think that Jamie Vardy is close to breaking some sort of record where he has, like, for a player, it's the most games lost after scoring, which is ridiculous, but nonetheless, I mean, that's a record, I guess. But like I said, Burnley won 2-1. Then we had Crystal Palace facing off with Brighton, and Palace won this one 3-2. Wilfried Zaha had 2 goals in this one in the 5th and 24th minute. heading over to Huddersfield Town. Danny Ings scored in the 90th minute. Huddersfield Town won 1-0 against Watford, and Watford is usually a pretty decent team. I think they're still in the top 10 in the Premier League table. Then we had Swansea City versus Everton. That game drew 1-1. Let's see. For Liverpool, they faced off with Bournemouth. You had goals from Mane, Salah, and Roberto Firmino. I mean, not really more you could ask for there. Right? Your top 3 attackers scoring. I mean, perfect game there, to be honest. Then we had, let's see, I'm going to skip the Manchester City and Tottenham game because I want to talk more in depth about it. Let's see, on Sunday, we had Newcastle facing off with Arsenal. I believe this is Arsenal's 5th straight road defeat. All right, Newcastle won this one 2-1, and then Manchester United faced off with West Brom, and West Brom won this one 1-0. And due to that, you had, with Manchester United losing to West Brom, you had Manchester City winning the Premier League. All right, Manchester City won on Saturday. They faced off with Tottenham in Wembley, won 3-1. You had a goal from Eriksen for Tottenham, and then you had Gabriel Jesus, Gundogan, and Sterling scoring for City. I mean, City scored in the 22nd minute, much deserved goal. The 25th minute, the goal by Gundogan was a penalty, and it shouldn't have been a penalty at all. You could clearly tell the tackle was outside the box. I'm not sure if the ref just wasn't paying attention, but nonetheless, I mean, the ref called it for a penalty. Gundogan hits it. 42nd minute comes. Eriksen scores, and you figure, you know what? This is going to be a pretty decent game right here. Tottenham's going to, obviously, the worst lead to play with is a 2-0 lead, so they score right before the halftime, too, and that's always the best get a goal right there, too, because of the fact that you're going into the locker room with the momentum on your side, and like I said, 2-0 lead ends up being 2-1 right before halftime, momentum completely on your side, but nonetheless, I mean, the second half comes, and Tottenham are trying, same with City, too. City just didn't take their foot off the gas pedal at all, continued to play well, but nonetheless, Raheem Sterling comes in the 72nd minute, and puts the game away with the dagger, the goal there, and they, like I said, they won 3-1. All right. Tottenham played well, but it wasn't enough. Manchester City were just way too good for Tottenham here. All right. Tottenham, like I said, they played well, but it's just a matter of City were just hitting every pass too. It was almost extremely entertaining to watch, just the way they were playing, almost like a La Liga side here. And I was talking with my uncle about it, because we were watching the game too, and he said that pretty much Pep Guardiola has brought that Spanish style of play over to the Premier League. The Premier League is more so physical, ball in the air type of soccer, and over in Spain they play with the ball on the ground. But nonetheless, I think that I was thinking about it, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why Manchester City just simply ran away with the title this year. I mean, it's just a matter of no one really came close to him. All right, the style of play, the way they played this season was just unbelievable. All right, no one really could, like I said, just no one came close. You couldn't stop City this year. Let me get their record so far this season. And it's just crazy to see. City's already won the Premier League, and we still have 5 games left in the Premier League left to play. All right. So far, they have 28 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses. All right. The next team with the least amount of losses is Liverpool, 4. And then it'd be Tottenham and Manchester United with 6. City, look at, all right, I'm going to read you the top 6 goal differentials. All right, I'm going to read you City's last. United's goal differential is plus 37. Liverpool's is plus 43. Tottenham's is plus 35, Chelsea's is plus 24, and then Arsenal's is plus 17. All right. Obviously, the highest goal differential out of that is Liverpool's with a plus 43. City's is a plus 68. Okay, a plus 68 goal differential. And one thing I was wondering about is this City team the best to ever play in the Premier League? I know in 2003 you had the Arsenal team, the Invincibles, who won the league and didn't lose a game there, but it's just a matter of the way City have played this season in the Premier League. I mean, it's just kind of crazy to think how they just lost 2 games. All right. And they lost to United, and I can't remember who their other loss was to, but nonetheless, I mean, it's just ridiculous to see how well this team has played this season. And it's just a matter of, too, like, I'm thinking over to next year, like, how is a team going to be able to compete with the City team? Like, how? All right. Obviously, Liverpool have played well this season. United have played out more so well. All right, United have pretty much been talked about, a team who hasn't really played well all season, but nonetheless, they're currently in second. Tottenham have played well this season too, but it's just a matter of, it doesn't matter that they played well, okay? Because of the fact that City has just been that much better. How are these teams going to compete when the transfer window comes? How are you going to compete with the Manchester City team? All right, Pep's already got his team squad set up. He only needs to make maybe 1 or 2 moves this summer, if any. what is a team like United, Liverpool, and Tottenham going to do to compete? All right, you're probably going to see a team like Chelsea, who I don't really see competing next year because of the fact they're going to be bringing in a new coach. And if I'm Chelsea, I'm calling Carlo Ancelotti, saying what he's doing. All right, because that's a great coach there, and I'm sure he can make a difference. But it's just a matter of, I'm very curious to see how these teams deal with Manchester City next season. We brought up United, and now it's time to shift over to it, talking about it. But, I mean, is Jose Mourinho really a good fit over at Manchester United? I feel his tactics are a bit played out, and his whole persona is a little bit played out. All right, called out the players after the game on Sunday when they lost to West Brom. And one thing, too, I don't think I've ever seen Jose Mourinho pretty much hold himself accountable. All right, connected with the players or anything like that. You see Pep Guardiola and stuff going up to the players after the game, hugging them, pretty much messing around with them and stuff like that. I feel like Jose Mourinho, like, he is his nickname. It's the special one, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's his nickname or whatever. And it's just, there's nothing special about Mourinho anymore. He doesn't have that little vibe, the little aura that comes around him when he's walking out, all right? I don't really think of him as a great manager in the Premier League, to be honest, okay? I understand, and don't get mad at me as I'm saying that. I understand what he's done before, but now it's just a matter of, what have you done for me now? What has he done for United now? All right? I mean, he hasn't gotten along with Pogba, and one thing, too, if I'm United and I'm picking between Pogba and Mourinho, I'm picking Pogba every day of the week. We know what Pogba can do, and I think it's just a matter of, I mean, let's see this, okay? And people will point, oh yeah, Pogba, he's not focusing on football or anything like that. He's focused on his haircuts. Pogba was the same way at Juventus, and the dude was one of the best in the world. All right, people just point to that because of the fact that he's not playing well. But I honestly think that the reason why he hasn't been playing well is because of the fact that it's Mourinho. I think Mourinho is the problem at United, and it's something that we talked about last week too. Is the fact that one of the things about Manchester United is the fans, the media, and all that are expecting them to return back to the United they used to be with Sir Alex Ferguson, and that's just one thing that it's not going to happen. All right, Manchester United definitely are a historic club and all that, but it's just a matter of now they're never gonna get back to that same way unless they find themselves a new manager, like pretty much a new Sir Alex Ferguson. And I just got an update on my phone, says that Mourinho says that Pogba and Alexis are at risk of being dropped for their semifinal game against Tottenham. All right. And that's one thing, too, with Mourinho. It's just a matter of he's too stubborn, I think, to coach a team like that. All right? I honestly think that he is the problem, and it's not the players. Okay? Because there's one thing where, yeah, we don't have the best players or anything like that. The dude, all right, let's do a little experiment, okay? Think about it. Let's replace Jose Mourinho with Pep Guardiola. Let's put Pep Guardiola as the coach of Manchester United and Jose Mourinho as the coach of Manchester City. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning of the season. All right, no one's played a game yet. Honestly, tell me. All right, City are now the Premier League champions with the players they've got. United are in second. Tell me in your head, if you put Pep Guardiola over at United with the players they've got there and Mourinho with the players they got at City, who do you think wins the Premier League? Okay, I honestly think it'd be United. I really think that it's the manager. The manager is the reason why they haven't really... And it's one thing, too, I guess this is kind of an outlier, too, because of the fact that they are in second place, and it's just a matter of City of just... They've had an unreal year, and maybe it's just a matter of United haven't been as bad as we've thought. But, I mean, I just feel like there's no good morale there. All right? I feel like the players there just aren't happy to be there. I feel like playing for a guy like Lukaku, all right? Lukaku was one of the best forwards in the Premier League, comes to United, and it's a theme. It's really a theme. You see all these top players come to United under Mourinho, and their ability goes down. All right? Alexis has gotten worse, it seems. Pogba has gotten worse, it seems. Lukaku. All right? Martial's not even getting minutes, and he's a great player on that squad. All right? It's a matter of, yeah, look at the players, but it's kind of like a little consistent thing. All right, each player has seen their play dip a bit with Mourinho as their manager. All right, Mourinho needs to realize that it's not all about him, that maybe it's his fault. Maybe he needs to change some things up as far as tactics and the way he manages this team. All right, no one cares what you did in 2003 or whatever since then. No one cares what you did at Chelsea. No one cares what you did at Madrid. No one cares what you did at Inter. It doesn't matter, or even at Porto for that matter. Nobody cares. It's about what are you doing now. All right, the past is the past. It does not matter at all. That's why it's the past. No one's talking about it now. All right, so with Mourinho, I think Manchester United need to get rid of Mourinho. If anything, they should go after a guy like Ancelotti. All right? Why hold on to Mourinho for another year when you know it just isn't working? What more can you do? You've given him money. You've given him the money to go out and get top players. All right, and obviously it just hasn't worked. And again, it might just be something where we're overreacting a bit just because of the whole gap between City and United, but it's just a matter of these players have not played up to their ability. So I'm not really sure what United's plan is as far as after the season. Maybe they win the FA Cup, then they bring Mourinho back. But I just think even if you do win the FA Cup, you got to get rid of the guy. All right, just because of the fact it's not more so just a whole football type thing, tactics type thing. It's just a matter of the morale. It doesn't seem like the players there are having fun at all, and it just seems like Mourinho is just he's too old. All right, he's overstayed his welcome as a manager. I'm sure he'll go somewhere else and get a great job, but it's just a matter of this has become a young man's game. You see Pep Guardiola, he's adapted to it. All right, he understands it, and that's why his team has done so well. Jurgen Klopp understands it too. But it's just a matter of Mourinho's trying to bring back the old style of football, and it's just not going to work there. So, like I said, if it's me, I'm getting rid of Mourinho, but we'll see what Manchester United end up doing. But that's all I got to say about that. Today, West Ham ended up playing Stoke City. They drew 1-1, so there's a little update there. Let's see. Next up, we're going to be talking about the group of death in the World Cup between Mexico, Germany, Sweden, and South Korea. It looks like Zlatan Ibrahimovic will be playing in the World Cup, so that's a little talking point there. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. So far today, we've talked Champions League. We got Liverpool versus Roma in the semifinal, Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich, and then in the second segment, we spent it talking Premier League. Manchester City are your Premier League champions. Yes, United fans, they are your champions. All right, we also talked about United. I talked about the fact that I think it's time that they move on from Mourinho. All right. And it's like I'm thinking about it now, and like United have gone through 3 managers so far. Well, they fired 2. This is the 3rd, I believe, since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. And I think maybe if you fire Mourinho here, you kind of turn it into Real Madrid. But Real Madrid are pretty much, you throw whoever out there, they're always going to be successful. All right. But it's just a matter of, I just don't think that the Mourinho experiment is working. I mean, how much longer do you expect him to be there at all, even if you do keep him? All right. I think that maybe they need to start off younger as far as their manager, figure something out. I think, like I said, I've said it before, that the biggest problem is they're expecting to return back to the Manchester United they used to be with Sir Alex Ferguson. And I think that's a bit unrealistic because of the fact that that guy was throwing guys like Anderson out there and they were winning games. All right, Anderson, the guy who couldn't even cut it in Brazil's second division after he left United once Sir Alex Ferguson left. All right, so I don't know. It's up to the board, obviously, as far as what they want to do, but I just figure that Mourinho's kind of overstayed his welcome there. I feel like the players have gotten, like each player he brings in gets worse when they play under Mourinho. All right, I'm pretty sure the stats back me up there. But anyway, we'll see about it. So Zlatan Ibrahimovic, all right, tearing up the MLS. Scored again the other day. And I can't remember exactly who he was against, FC Dallas or some team like that. They ended up winning 1-0 because of his header. And he tweets out, Zlatan something about the World Cup. Like there's a good chance of like a high possibility of him playing in the World Cup. So obviously, I think we're going to see Zlatan playing for Sweden in the World Cup. And we've never seen Ibrahimovic in the World Cup. And that's going to be quite, let me tell you, quite the treat for those watching. All right? Because of the fact that the dude is entertaining. No matter what he does, he's entertaining. All right? He's always a joy to watch play. All right? But nonetheless, that makes the group of death even harder. Group F. All right? You got Germany, you got Mexico, you got Sweden, obviously, and then South Korea. None of those teams are pushovers. All right? I'm sure the favorites in that group right now are Germany and Mexico to come out. But Sweden with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Sweden have played well since he's left. But nonetheless, now you're adding a guy of that caliber to that team, you're going to get even better. And as far as South Korea goes, they play a nice little style of football where it's not so flashy or anything like that, but they stick to the game plan. You got a guy like Son out there who's played well for Tottenham all season long as a goal-scoring threat. All right? Like with Germany, obviously they won the World Cup in 2014. And, I mean, they're still favorites to win it again this year. It's not easy to go out and repeat, but Germany very well can. All right? You got guys like Muller. You got guys like Ozil, Hummels, Boateng, Neuer, Rundigen. Like their first three, like their first and second, like their second team could go out and be favorites to win the World Cup. All right? They are that good. I have no doubt that Germany's most likely going to win that group. All right? And it's just with Germany, I mean, if you compare them, let's compare them real quick. All right, we got Brazil, Belgium, let's see, Spain, Argentina, France. I think that Germany, honestly, is the best team in this World Cup. All right, as far as player for player. All right, from top to bottom, reserves, whatever, it doesn't matter. Germany does have the best team. With a team like Spain, the only thing that really concerns me with them, I mean, is just the striking position. Diego Costa, just ever since he switched over to play for the national team in Spain, it just hasn't seemed like he's really been the guy they expected him to be. He just hasn't really become the goal-scoring machine that he was with a team like Chelsea or even Atletico Madrid. All right. Then you got Alvaro Morata, but he hasn't really played well with Chelsea at all. I think he's even going to be leaving after this year. So I just really think that the two striking options they have up there just aren't great. All right. Then as far as France goes, I mean, yes, France has a great team. All right, France is a very good team. You got Pogba, Lemar, Mbappe, Lacazette, Matuidi, Conte, whoever. It doesn't matter. From top to bottom, France is a great team. All right, but it's just a matter of, for some reason, every World Cup, France seems to have some type of problem that goes on. All right, and it's just a matter of they just seem, the moment gets too big for them. Even in the Euros. I mean, that was in France. They played in the final against a Ronaldo-less Portugal team, and they still lost. All right? They still lost. France just seems like a team where no matter the talent, something's always going to get in their way. All right? And you head over to a team like Argentina, who lost in the final to Germany last year. Argentina's final is that they don't come up big in finals. Or the biggest problem is that they don't come up big in finals. All right? I think the last time they won a major trophy, a major tournament, I should say, was in 1991, I think. And that's unacceptable with the players they got out there now. All right? And one of their biggest problems is that the manager refuses to play Dybala and Messi at the same time. I understand now they play the same position, but you could easily move Dybala or Messi over to the right wing. Or, yeah, it's the outside. All right? They'll both play well there. They're not players who are just stuck to one position who will struggle if you put them anywhere else. All right? They're very versatile players who can go and play multiple positions. You can play one of them as striker. You can play one of them as an attacking mid. Or you go put them on the wing. Like I said, it doesn't matter. All right? They're going to thrive. So with Argentina, it's just a matter of if the manager wants to put his best 11 out there. And it's just a matter of if Argentina can pretty much, like guys like Higuain. All right? Guys who don't really show up too much in big games. You need those guys to show up. You need them to play well. Because I'm sure Higuain is going to be the starting striker for Argentina this World Cup. I mean, you got Icardi, you got Aguero, Higuain. Am I missing anyone? Carlos Tevez isn't even in that mix anymore. Yeah, I figure that they'll probably have Higuain up top when it might even be better off putting a guy like Aguero up there, but I feel like Higuain might just mesh a little bit better with the starting 11. Plus, he's been playing the best out of the two respective strikers, talking about Aguero and Higuain. Aguero's starting to split time a bit with Gabriel Jesus, and Higuain is the true striker at Juventus. All right. So I figure with Argentina, it's just a matter of if they can put the best starting 11 out there and if they're going to be able to come up big in this tournament. All right. And let's see, with Brazil, it's a matter of pretty much is Brazil really has no excuses not to win the tournament this year either. All right. I'm sure Neymar's going to be back for the tournament. I mean, their biggest question is who do you start at striker? Is it Firmino or is it Gabriel Jesus? And they've both been playing extremely well. They'll probably end up going with Firmino because a guy like Gabriel Jesus is just way too young right now. But eventually, I do think that, I don't know, they got an embarrassment of riches there, I guess you could say. Guys like Casemiro, all right, the backline's looking good. Ederson is the goalie. If anything, Brazil is probably Germany's biggest threat as to keeping them away from winning the World Cup. And then you head over to Belgium. I mean, it's a matter of if they're going to be able to, how do you say, pretty much just step up. Belgium this is their golden generation right there. You got guys like Hazard, De Bruyne, Lukaku. All right, a bunch of great players on that team. But it's just a matter of last World Cup, maybe they were just too young, and now it's their time, or it's just a matter of maybe they're not poised for the big moment. All right? Like I said, I mean, Group F, and then you got Germany, obviously, who I think is the best team player for player in the World Cup. All right? That's one team in Group F. Then you got Mexico. Okay. And with Mexico, their biggest problem has always been they can't get out the round of 16. They have very solid players on that team right now. If anything, they're still going through their golden generation. All right? Guys like Carlos Vela, Irving Lozano, Jesus Corona, Chicharito, Raul Jimenez, all right, the De Santos brothers, Hector Herrera, and their defense has always been kind of shaky, but I think it's gotten solid as the years have gone. You got guys like Miguel León, Diego Reyes, Hector Moreno, and then Carlos Salcedo. All right, and then at goal you got Guillermo Ochoa. They do have a pretty solid team. Obviously, it's not good enough, I don't think, to compete with the elites. We saw them in the the Confederations Cup against Germany. Germany pretty much beat them 4-0, I believe it was. And then they lost to Portugal in the third place game, I believe it was. Mexico's biggest problem is that, they can beat the second tier teams. All right. They can beat them with no problem. But now it's just a matter of, can Mexico compete with those top tier teams? Can Mexico go out and beat a Germany, go out and beat a Brazil, where, I mean, if in order for Mexico to get out of the round of 16 this year, it's most likely going to have to go through a team like Brazil. All right? Unless Mexico ends up winning the group, which is highly unlikely just because of the fact that you got a Germany team out there, you're probably going to have to face a team like Brazil. And I guess you'd have to hope a team like Costa Rica or Switzerland end up winning the group and Brazil finish second. All right? And I guess best case scenario for Mexico would be Costa Rica ends up winning that group and Brazil finishing in second. Because I do think that it's going to be Brazil and Costa Rica making it out of Group E. Switzerland might because of the fact that Switzerland always does play well at the World Cup, but I do think Costa Rica is the second best team there. But as far as Mexico goes, I mean, it's just a matter of the goal is to get out of the round of 16. All right, and it's just a matter of can they? I'm not sure. All right, it all depends, like I said, how will they finish against these top tier teams. Then you got Sweden, like I said. When you got Ibrahimovic out there, I'm sure they're going to get better. They've already been playing well without him. First time in a while they've qualified for the World Cup, so we'll see how it ends up going for them. And as far as South Korea goes, you got Sun out there and you got a bunch of other decent players out there. All right, South Korea is a team that can go out and surprise a team like Mexico, maybe give a team like Germany a run for their money. That's why Group F is the group of death. All right, you have 4 very solid teams out there. One great team who has a possibility of winning the World Cup. One team who, I mean, if they get past the round of 16, could go as far as they decide. Sweden with Zlatan Ibrahimovic is a goal-scoring threat. And as far as South Korea goes, they're a team where they don't really get away from their game plan. They stick to it, and they make you pretty much work in order to beat them. So we'll see how it all goes for Group F. I mean, I do have Germany and Mexico as far as the top 2 teams making it out. Sweden very well could find themselves into that second spot, or even South Korea. So it's going to be tough for those teams out there. But nonetheless, just wanted to give my thoughts on it since Zlatan Ibrahimovic is going to be playing the World Cup, it's looking like. So we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the football world. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. All right, so far today we've talked Champions League, we've talked Premier League. Manchester City are the Premier League champions with 5 games left to play, which is just ridiculous, the fact that they won it this early. And then for the third segment, we talked about the group of death in the World Cup, the group with Germany, Mexico, Sweden, and South Korea. All right, for this segment, as I said, we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of soccer, football, whatever you would like to call it. And I found my topic. All right, Jurgen Klinsmann was asked about his thoughts on the U.S. not making the World Cup. He went out and said that the U.S. missing the World Cup would set them back years. Okay, it would set them back years. And people may look at his comments as far as what he said and be like, oh, he's just bitter that they fired him as the head coach. And I'm sure he didn't like it, but there are ways as to how you can look at it, I guess. All right, as far as them not making the World Cup. Because, I mean, there was a problem with the U.S. as far as pretty much just playing the older players a little bit too much. All right. And not letting the younger guys get an opportunity. Guys like Bobby Wood and all that weren't getting more so a chance. I mean, Christian Pulisic was the only one really getting a chance, and he had to go out and be the best player on the team in order to get that chance. All right. But nonetheless, like I said, there is two ways of looking at it. All right, sorry, I just drew a blank, but nonetheless, like I said, there is two ways to look at it. You can look at it as if, yes, it can set them back a few years. All right, because of the fact that you do use the World Cup, I guess, as a little, not a developing point, but just to see where you are and to see what player, like, not to see where you are. Like, obviously, you're going into the World Cup trying to win it, but it's a matter of you're losing time, I guess. All right. You're losing time for guys like Christian Pulisic. All right. Guys who are very good soccer players, but nonetheless, like they're playing kind of like I always compare Irving Lozano and Christian Pulisic together. All right, Pulisic, they're basically the same player for both of their countries. All right, both young guys coming up, and both guys you're expecting to eventually take over on the team and be the top player. All right, Christian Pulisic might even be that top player already, but nonetheless, all right, you see them both playing well for their club. Lozano recently won the Eredivisie, the Dutch league, with PSV. All right, and you got Pulisic playing with Dortmund, okay, who are currently in 3rd or 2nd in the Bundesliga right now. And you expect them to do well with their clubs, which I'm sure you could say both have. And then by the time the World Cup comes, you expect them to go out and play even better or show, like, to the masses how well they've played. All right, and that's how you see them going on to bigger teams. All right, Pulisic has been linked to teams like Liverpool, United, and all that before, but now it's just a matter of he doesn't have that opportunity to go out to the World Cup and pretty much just show what he can do. All right, whereas a player like Lozano does. All right, and as far as how do you say this setting him back? I mean, it's just a matter of, I guess you could say that you don't really get the valuable matchups, I guess you could say there, as far as developing the players, but it's just a matter of, I mean, if you look at it the other way, it's kind of like you do get more time to develop the younger guys, the guys that probably wouldn't have gotten a shot at the World Cup. All right, the guys that are going to be playing at the 2022 World Cup, those type of players, you're going to have a chance to develop them for quite longer. All right, and I guess like that's probably the silver lining way to look at it, because of the fact that, I mean, there really is no other way. It's either we missed out on the World Cup and now we're set back, or we missed out on the World Cup, so I guess now we could use this opportunity to go out and develop these younger players. Because one thing with the U.S. too, one thing I like that Klinsmann did was he strayed away from players in the MLS and more so brought players over from Europe to play for the U.S. All right, the German dual nationals and all that. Okay, and I feel like that was probably best because of the fact that you're always going to put the best out there. Kind of like, and there's always this thing where the U.S. needs to develop the MLS and needs to bring in players from there, but it's just a matter of players from the MLS need to move over into Europe. And that's one thing I don't really like about the MLS is that, and the U.S. in general, is that they try and keep their players home. All right, they're trying to develop the MLS into being a top league rather than sending off the young players over to Germany or England or Spain or anything like that. All right. And Mexico, they tend to do that. Guys like Chicharito, Irving Lozano, Raul Jimenez. All right. Guys who aren't even like first, like Raul Jimenez doesn't really get normal starter minutes for Mexico, but nonetheless, he's out there playing for Benfica. You want to see that with the U.S. You don't want to keep your players at home. All right. I'm sorry, but the MLS may never develop into a league like the Bundesliga, the EPL, or even La Liga. All right. And if it does, it's going to take years on top of years on top of years to do that. Okay. And it's just a matter of you need to send your players out to play in the best leagues. And right now, the U.S. is not a great league. All right. They're still competing with the Liga MX as far as trying to overtake them for a league. Okay. But nonetheless, I mean, like I said, if you want to look at the silver lining as far as them not making the World Cup, it's a matter of you have more time to focus on the academies. You have more time to develop the younger players. You have more time to scout more. I mean, it's just a matter, like, I'm just throwing stuff out there, I guess, just trying to make the best of it. But like I said, I mean, it's just not great there. But as far as Jurgen Klinsmann goes, I don't think that the U.S. ever should have fired him. I figured that he was still the best man to do the job, and I figured that if he was still there, they would have made the World Cup. Because, I mean, all they needed was a point against Trinidad and Tobago in order to make the World Cup. And as soon as Bruce Arena got there, I figured as soon as he got there, I was like, yeah, the U.S. is not going to be any better with Bruce Arena than with Jurgen Klinsmann. All right, not at all. And anyone who thought that was just completely out of their mind, honestly. All right. I know people hated Jurgen, but let's be honest, all right? The talent Jurgen was working with wasn't the best. Okay, so when Bruce Arena comes and brings in his MLS guys and all that, and it just didn't work out. All right, Bruce Arena, I feel, was just a bit stubborn as far as him coaching the U.S. and just his tactics and all that, as far as the players he was bringing in. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, here we are. U.S. hasn't made the World Cup, and now it's just a matter of they got to wait till 2022. All right, so we'll see how they end up doing as far as that goes. I mean, obviously, I'm still curious to see who they're going to end up bringing in as their full-time coach. Right now, I don't believe they have one. I believe they're still working with an interim one. I'm sure they're going to wait and see what happens after the World Cup. I mean, maybe they go after a guy like Juan Carlos Osorio to eventually take over for them. Because I don't think Osorio's coming back. And I think that's another huge mistake by Mexico right there, letting him go. All right. With Osorio, it's just been a matter of Mexico, it's pretty much like the fans have a say in stuff, I feel. And the board obviously does. And it's just a matter of even though his record has been great and they've been playing really well, they haven't accepted him yet, which is ridiculous to say. All right, the fans and the board, I guess, just don't like the fact that he rotates his lineups a whole bunch, and I think it's more so his decision that he's leading rather than the board's, because of the fact that, I mean, why would you want to deal with the fans? The fans, Mexico fans, they tend to act like the team should be on that top tier with a Germany and all that. I'm sorry, but that's not the case. You don't have guys like that. All right? Yes, Mexico has very good players, but it's just not on that level. Eventually, maybe they could rise to that level, but as of right now, with the guys they got, you're not winning a World Cup. All right? You'd be lucky to go out and win a Confederations Cup and stuff like that because of the fact that they're just not on that tier yet. They're the top team in the second tier, but it's just a matter of, I think the expectations are way too high and way too unrealistic. All right? Wanting to see Mexico get out the round of 16 is not an unrealistic expectation. That's something that you should probably want to happen and expect. But as far as them winning World Cups and winning these big tournaments, I mean, what do you expect them to do? They're not a top team like that. They never have been. All right? And if Mexico loses Juan Carlos Osorio, they're going to go back to the whole rotating managers until they like what they get, unless they bring back a guy like Miguel Herrera, who did get results out of that Mexico team. All right, I feel like if you're having Osorio leave, then you got to go out and get a guy like Herrera, even though he got fired for punching a journalist. All right, which is just peak Mexico right there with just the outside drama that just you need nothing, you don't need any of it. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, if he leaves and the U.S. ends up picking him up, that'd be a great hire for the U.S. That'd be the best hire for the U.S. All right, I'm very curious to see what happens with Mexico as far as their managerial search if he ends up leaving, which I highly, highly believe that he will. All right, but let's see, anything else going on in the world of soccer right now? Like I said, we talked about Mourinho today pretty much. I don't think he should be back, but it's a matter of how often do you want to be rotating your managers. This is the third one since Alex Ferguson left, and I mean, it's just not good for the club, I guess you could say, if you're just going in and out with managers. Let's see anything else going on. I mean, pretty much now, like, the leagues are starting to come to an end. Barcelona's going to be winning their league. And Barcelona, I mean, them losing the Champions League game against Roma pretty much just put them down because no one is talking about the fact that they're going to be winning La Liga. But I think that's pretty much all that's going on right now in the world of soccer. So we're just going to wrap it up here. Like I said, today we talked about Champions League. We got Liverpool versus Roma, and then Madrid versus Bayern Munich. Second segment, we talked about Manchester City winning the Premier League with 5 games left to play, which is just ridiculous. All right, we talked about Jose Mourinho with Manchester United. I mean, I feel like it's time they move on, but like I said, it's just a matter of how often you want to keep moving on for your managers. Segment 3, we talked about the group of death. Zlatan Ibrahimovic looks like he's going to be playing for Sweden in the World Cup. And then for this segment, we basically talked about the United States and Mexico. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back next Monday as always, so stay tuned and we will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.